Regardless, let's get to Aidan Hutchinson. Because I checked the odds last week because I wanted to visit kind of where he's at in Defensive Rookie of the Year race. You know, right now, he's not too far behind. Currently, Micah Parsons leads the race on most betting apps. FanDuel, he's plus 175. And then Myles Garrett, plus 250. TJ Watt, plus 500. And then Nick Bosa and Aidan Hutchinson are tied at plus 2,500. Pretty damn good defensive ends in front of you.
Yeah.
Now, Micah Parsons having a hell of a year so far. He's on one of the better defenses in the NFL. Myles Garrett, he had a game with 3.5 sacks. He's had a hell of a season too. Up and down, but still had a hell of a season. TJ Watt, we know what he is. I mean, it's like if TJ Watt gets a sack, which he didn't have one last week, but when he gets a sack, it's just another day of the week. So, you know, TJ Watt's been that guy. He's my pick for Defensive Player of the Year. He's currently third in the race. And then Nick Bosa and Aidan Hutchinson are tied. Sam Flan, I'll go to you on this. Any chance he gets close? Because the fact that he's top 5 right now, he's the youngest player in the race. I mean, Micah is up there too. He's a little older than Aidan, but Aidan's the youngest defensive lineman in this race. The only player that's actually close from this recent draft class is Devon Witherspoon, and he comes in after Fred Warner, and he's plus 5,500.
And that's pretty much based
or
off
plus
1
6,000 on DraftKings. Sure. Yeah, exactly. So, like, realistically, I mean, you talk about premier edge rushers in this league. Like I said, Micah, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, Aidan, Chris Jones, Max Crosby, Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack had Jesus.
Is Witherspoon in front
I
of
had to
Branch?
check that the other day, by the way, the Khalil Mack stuff. I saw he had 6 sacks, and I'm like, 6 sacks on the season? No, he had 6 sacks in one game.
One game.
In one game.
Welcome to the NFL, Aidan O'Connell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. But regardless, I think that's the only reason why he's in this race. But the top 5, Sam Flannel. What do you think?
All right, so the top 5...
Is Aidan moving up, or is he moving down?
I think he could be moving up. I don't know if he's going to pass any of the names in front of him because it's got all the usual suspects. I mean, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa. I mean, this is the cream of the crop. You've got guys who have won Defensive Player of the Year before very recently, and guys who have finished second in the running like Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons, who are all elite. I don't know if Aidan Hutchinson is going to pass any of them, but it just speaks to how great of a season that Aidan Hutchinson has already had so far, because Aidan Hutchinson is currently tied for first in the NFL in quarterback pressures. And honestly, quarterback pressures, you can debate how much weight they should carry. I mean, they should definitely carry some. I mean, you saw how much he affected the game against Kansas City by just pressuring Patrick Mahomes and not getting any sacks. But in the last couple of games, he supplemented that with 3.5 sacks, which is currently tied for 10th in the NFL with a lot of different players. And he has 7 quarterback hits. I don't think he's really in the running to win Defensive Player of the Year this year, but Aidan Hutchinson, remember before the season, remember I told you one of the pathways to him getting it was having that second-year leap that a lot of the all-time greats have had. And this season, Aidan Hutchinson is on pace for a whopping 114 quarterback pressures. 114. You know how many he had all of last season?
Talk to me.
53.
Ooh.
So he's on pace to double that. And he had a damn good rookie year. This season, Aidan Hutchinson is on pace for 30 quarterback hits, which is insane. Last season, he had 15, so doubling that. And this season, he's on pace for the number that I predicted, 15 sacks. And last season, he had 9.5. So Aidan Hutchinson has certainly done a lot in the first 4 games to have that second-year leap. He is certainly on pace for it. And when you look at Aidan Hutchinson versus... I looked at the last 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards who were edge rushers. 2022, Nick Bosa. He had 90 pressures. Aidan Hutchinson is on pace for 114. Mm-hmm. 48 quarterback hits, which is outer space amazing. Aidan Hutchinson is only on pace for 30. Only 30. Just shows...
Pity 30.
I know, just goes to show how great Nick Bosa was last year. And he had 18.5 sacks, and Aidan Hutchinson is on pace for 15. So Aidan Hutchinson is actually on a greater quarterback pressures pace than Nick Bosa got for the whole year in 2022. And then in 2021, you look at TJ Watt. TJ Watt had only 62 quarterback pressures, a piddly 62 quarterback pressures, versus Aidan Hutchinson. Aidan Hutchinson is on pace for 114. He had 39 quarterback hits, and Aidan Hutchinson is on pace this season for 30. But TJ Watt, the big difference is he tied the all-time record for sacks in a season with 22.5. So that just goes to show you that Aidan Hutchinson is almost doubling the pace of what TJ Watt had in his Defensive Player of the Year campaign in 2021. And then you look at 2016 Khalil Mack. He had 96 quarterback pressures. Aidan Hutchinson is on pace for 114 this year. 26 quarterback hits. Aidan Hutchinson is on pace for 30. And 11 sacks. Aidan Hutchinson is on pace for 15. So he's on pace to put up better numbers than Defensive Player of the Year Khalil Mack did in 2016. And he's on pace to have 114 quarterback pressures, which is more than any of the last 3 Defensive Player of the Year edge rushers have had. And I get it. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but Aidan Hutchinson, I think his pathway to being in the conversation is have over 100 quarterback pressures and 15 sacks. Then you probably can't deny him at the worst a second-team All-Pro.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Read those stats to me, Daddy.
Hey.
JB's a sniper. A sniper.
I'm in the coffin. I'm in the coffin after that one. Yeah.
One more time, JB.
Read those stats to me, Daddy.
Damn it. Damn it. All right. Dan Wood. I blame you, Dan Wood, because I read your comment and he clipped me.
He was doing it yesterday, too.
I love Dan Wood. He's funny. Yeah, let me just kind of piggyback off that. Now I'm uncomfortable saying that after what you just played. Regardless, though, K Boogie says, Jeff, you really got to watch what you say, man. I know. Trust me, I get it. It just happens. I don't know what to say.
Just making you better.
I don't know what to say.
So when you're on the big stage, you can rise to the occasion without looking sus.
Well, that's bad. That's bad. JB's too fast with that. Regardless, what I took away from what you said, Sam, and kind of just the research I've been doing about Aidan and so far what he's doing this year, and I read this tweet by Lions Fan Report, will Aidan Hutchinson be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate by season's end? And that's what kind of inspired this topic, because they wrote he's on pace for over 114 pressures, which you kind of already talked about, 27 through 4 games. On pace for over 14 sacks, 15 sacks, 3.5 through 4 games. Think about that for a second. Like what he's doing, and this comment summed it up perfectly, and I want to make sure I give credit here to who said it specifically. Let's see. Certified supply chain professional. The Lions have the #1 run defense and the most QB pressures, which is crazy because the defensive tackles are mid. Like think about what Aidan Hutchinson, and this isn't to discredit Aleem or Benito Jones, right? Aleem McNeil's actually looked a lot better. But no Houston, and he's doing this. Like, that's what my takeaway is. Like, you talk about guys that are in this Defensive Player of the Year race, and I kind of already read them off, but all the players that are listed here, Micah Parsons, I don't even have to tell you. Like, he's an incredible player. I don't want to discount anything he's doing, but it helps when you have the defense he has. It just does, right? When you have a guy on your defensive line like DeMarcus Lawrence, Myles Garrett, and them getting Zadarius Smith. Now he's in the Defensive Player of the Year race, and he had great years before, but regardless, it helps. TJ Watt with Highsmith, Nick Bosa with that defensive line, and then there's Aidan Hutchinson, just chilling on that list. Like it's like we didn't think we'd see you, Hayden, hiding on this list, but with no help, by the way, barely. And then you have Chris Jones. Chris Jones is a menace, and he does great things. Max Crosby's one of those guys who I would also put there that doesn't really have a lot of help, and Max Crosby just makes plays. Aidan, what he's doing at his age, and now a second-year player, to be in the Defensive Player of the Year race, not rookie. He went from Defensive Rookie of the Year race to now Defensive Player of the Year race with little to no help around him. That is the biggest takeaway for me. Will he win it? No, I don't think so. Will he be in the race? Potentially. I just think there's guys that are bound to have bigger years. Like Micah Parsons, I think will have an incredible year, and I think it'll be his award. TJ Watt is my pick, so I'm going to stick by that. But this is incredible what Aidan Hutchinson's doing. Like, you can't discount how much of an impact this man's making with little to no help, or at least not as much help as others. I'll phrase it like that because I don't want to act like Lee McNeil some bum. But regardless, that's my biggest takeaway is once they get another dude on this defensive line, like a Jalen Carter. I'm not saying go get. I'm not saying they messed up by not taking him, but there'll be an opportunity in the future to get another one of these guys. Go get him, because what that'll do to Aidan Hutchinson. My gosh, now we're talking Defensive Player of the Year. Because then we'll have another guy on your defensive line that can actually absorb a double team. Yeah, like Aidan Hutchinson's the only dude, and he's still making plays. So that's my biggest takeaway. Aidan's doing a lot with less.
Well, yeah, and he's still having a great year regardless. And I think Aleem McNeil has taken that leap, although he's certainly not like he's not at the level of like a Hargraves or like a DeMarcus Lawrence or somebody that, or like a Highsmith or somebody like that, which all the other players have as help, or Zadarius Smith. But it's just amazing. He has better odds right now than Khalil Mack, a guy who had 6 sacks in one game. Granted, he was a bit of a disappointment for the first 3 games, but still, that's insane. He has better odds than Chris Jones, who has came back from his 1 game kind of holdout, and he's basically been the best he's ever been in his career for this 3-game stretch, and he's ahead of Max Crosby. More on him later. But when you talk about best edge rushers in the NFL, I think it's 100% universal. You got Micah Parsons, you got TJ Watt, you have Nick Bosa, and you have Myles Garrett. Those are the best 4, and I think there's no question about it. If by the end of the season you can kind of sneak Aidan Hutchinson into that tier, that would be absolutely incredible. That would speak to the second-year leap that he is on pace to have, and the great 4 games that he's already had. Because when I laid out what he's on pace for, 100 pressures and 15 sacks is very much on the table.
100%.
I'm not saying it's likely, but he's on pace for it.
He's in the conversation.
He's 100% in the conversation. He's going to be maybe at the end of the year. My prediction is he's the guy that's mentioned at the very, very top of the second tier, to where you can basically say he's definitively better than Khalil Mack. He's definitively better than Joey Bosa. He's definitively better than Hassan Reddick. Guys like that leading the second tier of edge rushers. And then maybe by next year, he can be really in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year, or at least first team All-Pro, because it is loaded at the top, as we saw.
And I want to look up a certain stat here, because I think it'll give some context to this comment. And by the way, Ed says Lions D-line is not an excuse for Aidan not to perform. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying I'm not blaming, but what I'm saying, Ed, is the fact that he's 5th in Defensive Player of the Year award, and he doesn't. I mean, tell me, Ed, who does he have around him? Aleem McNeil? Like, you confident he's an next All-Pro? Like, I love Aleem McNeil. I think he's serviceable, but that's my point. Benito Jones? He ain't it either. I mean, they're solid against the run, but guys, like, let's not act like he's playing next to, like, Javon Hargraves and Chris Jones. Like, no, that's my point, Ed. And he doesn't have James Houston, who last year when he was healthy, Aidan was a tear with James Houston on the other side of him. It's not an insult to Aidan to say that. It's simple stuff. You give Aidan, who already is a fantastic, up and coming, not even up and coming, he's here, an elite edge rusher. That's what he's trending towards. If you give those guys another either defensive tackle who can generate double teams, or another edge rusher who can get you close to double-digit sacks, if not double-digit sacks, yeah, it helps him. And I don't think that's an insult to Aidan.